What if the reason your reality feels stuck has nothing to do with destiny, luck, or circumstance, but with a loop playing endlessly inside your mind? The mind loop is subtle but relentless. A single thought, "I'm not enough," "I'll never change," "life is against me," triggers emotions that confirm it, actions that repeat it, and experiences that mirror it back. Round and round, the loop tightens, and your life feels like déjà vu on repeat. But here's the secret no one tells you. The instant you interrupt this loop, reality itself begins to shift. The universe isn't holding you back. It's only responding to the frequency you're unconsciously broadcasting. In this video, you'll discover how to spot the loop running your life, what science and spirituality reveal about breaking it, and why freedom from it opens the door to synchronicities, love, health, and abundance. Stay until the end, because once you understand how to break the loop, you'll realize changing your reality doesn't take years. It can happen in a single moment. Imagine waking up each day and living the same story, even though you long for change. That story is not written by fate. It is written by the loops running in your mind. A mind loop is the cycle of thought, emotion, and behavior that keeps recreating the same reality. You think, "I'm not good enough." That thought triggers the emotion of anxiety. Anxiety shapes your actions. You avoid opportunities, withdraw from connection, play small. And those actions confirm the original thought, feeding the loop. Like a snake eating its own tail, the cycle sustains itself endlessly. This is why so many people feel trapped. They assume reality is fixed, that life is stacked against them, or that change must take years. But the real prison is not external. It is the invisible loop spinning within the subconscious. Studies show that 95% of our daily actions come from subconscious programming, not conscious choice. This means your loop is not just a bad habit. It is the operating system running most of your life. Think of the hamster wheel. No matter how fast the hamster runs, it never leaves its cage. The loop works the same way. You may hustle harder, push more, even force affirmations into your mind. But if the underlying loop remains intact, reality doesn't shift. And the cruel trick of the loop is that it disguises itself as truth. "I've always been this way." "Things never work out for me." "Struggle is just part of life." These are not truths, they are loops. Yet because they repeat so often, the mind mistakes them for reality itself. This prison isn't guarded by walls, it's guarded by repetition. And until you become aware of it, the loop keeps you locked in the same timelines, the same outcomes, the same versions of yourself. But here is the breakthrough. Once you see the loop, you are no longer fully inside it. Awareness is the first crack in the cage. And with that crack comes the possibility of stepping into a completely different reality. In the next part, we'll break down the mechanics of the loop, why it's so powerful, how science explains it, and why the field keeps reflecting it back until you finally interrupt its pattern. You live most of your life inside loops, mental repetitions that play out without you even noticing. The same thoughts arise each morning. The same emotions get triggered by familiar situations. The same stories keep echoing inside your mind. This repetition feels safe because it's predictable, but in truth, it's a cage. The mind convinces you that control lies in replaying these patterns, worrying about what might go wrong, rehearsing conversations that never happened, or dwelling on mistakes you cannot undo. Each loop is a chain, pulling you back into the same version of reality, even when your soul longs for expansion. Notice how the mind creates these cycles. Fear triggers defense. Defense reinforces judgment. Judgment breeds separation, and separation fuels more fear. It becomes a circle without an exit, until awareness steps in. Without awareness, you mistake the loop for reality itself. You confuse thought with truth, memory with identity, repetition with stability. The illusion is convincing because billions of minds around you are caught in the same loops, feeding each other's fears, validating each other's limitations. But ask yourself, what if this entire cycle is not who you are, but just a program running in the background? What if the voice in your head is not the essence of your being, but a survival mechanism designed to keep you safe at the cost of your freedom? The trap is not that thoughts exist. The trap is believing they define you. When you identify with the loop, you hand your power to the past. When you step back and observe it, you reclaim your sovereignty. The moment you begin to watch the loop instead of playing it, cracks appear in its structure. You realize that not every thought is true. Not every fear is yours. Not every judgment is worth holding on to. You discover the gap, the silent space between one thought and the next. In that gap lies the door out of the prison, the entry point into reality beyond repetition. Breaking the loop does not mean fighting against your thoughts, nor does it mean suppressing the patterns that have run for years. Paradoxically, the harder you resist the loop, the more energy you give it. The true way out begins with awareness, the quiet act of noticing without judgment. When you observe a thought as if it were simply a cloud passing through the sky, you begin to step outside of the loop. Observation creates distance. It shows you that the thought is not who you are. It is only a conditioned echo of the past, repeating itself like a broken record. In that moment of awareness, the loop starts to lose its power because you are no longer fused with it. But observation alone is only half of the key. The other half is unconditional love. This doesn't mean approving of every mistake or harmful behavior, but rather holding an understanding that everyone, including yourself, is often just reacting like a system. Patterns of fear, anger, or defensiveness are not evidence of brokenness. They are evidence of conditioning. When you see this, compassion naturally arises. Instead of fueling the loop with shame or resistance, you soften. And in that softening, the loop dissolves. Consider someone who always lashes out in frustration. It is easy to meet that reaction with equal defensiveness, which only deepens the loop for both sides. But if you recognize that their response is simply a survival system at work, you can meet it with presence instead of judgment. You are no longer caught in their loop or your own. You are observing, empathizing, and choosing a different frequency. That choice is freedom. The same applies internally. When your mind whispers old stories of failure or unworthiness, you can either engage in battle with those voices, or you can observe them gently and acknowledge, this is just a loop. It is not me. Then, rather than condemning yourself, you apply unconditional love. Even in this moment, I am enough. Even in my imperfection, I am whole. That shift in tone turns what was once a prison into a path of liberation. Breaking the loop is less about erasing the past and more about creating space around it. When you observe, you create distance. When you love, you soften the resistance. Together, they open a door into a new possibility. Suddenly, the energy that was trapped in repetition becomes available for creation. This is why many spiritual traditions teach forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about excusing harmful acts. It is about refusing to let those acts define your frequency. It is the conscious choice to step outside of the loop of blame and into the field of freedom. When you forgive yourself and others, You collapse the energetic cycle that kept the past alive in the present. Love without conditions is the ultimate disruptor of mental loops. It does not argue with the mind, nor does it reinforce its games. It simply shines so fully that the old patterns cannot sustain themselves. Observation gives you clarity, and love gives you power. Together, they turn every trigger into an invitation, every repetition into a chance to awaken. And here lies the paradox. Breaking the loop is not something you force, it is something you allow. You stop trying to think your way out of it. You stop demanding perfection from yourself or others. You breathe, you observe, you soften, and you choose love. In that simple act, the loop collapses, not because you conquered it, but because you no longer need to play its game. The loop cannot survive in the presence of awareness and unconditional love. The moment you embody both, you step into a reality where new choices, new connections, and new timelines are possible. And that is the true freedom waiting on the other side. The moment you break the loop, you are no longer the same frequency that created it. Reality is not waiting for some distant day to adjust. It begins shifting the instant your vibration does. Because reality, in truth, has always been a mirror. The loop was the lens, reflecting the same image back to you again and again. When the lens cracks, the reflection changes. At first, these shifts may seem subtle. You find yourself less reactive in conversations. What once triggered anger now only stirs curiosity. You notice moments of stillness where there used to be chaos. These small cracks in the old pattern are not accidents. They are proof that you are inhabiting a new frequency. This new frequency carries its own gravity. People, opportunities, and synchronicities begin aligning with it naturally. Where before you might have unconsciously attracted relationships that validated unworthiness, now you meet people who mirror back your growing sense of wholeness. Where scarcity once ruled, small expressions of abundance begin to appear. Not because the universe suddenly decided to give, but because you finally tuned yourself to the signal that was always broadcasting. Think of it like a radio. For years, you were tuned to a station of doubt, fear, or lack. Breaking the loop is the act of turning the dial. The moment you align with a new station, you hear a new song. The signal doesn't fade in gradually. It's there immediately. That's why shifts in reality can feel instantaneous. The moment you step into a frequency of love, compassion, and awareness, you are already experiencing a different world. This is why awareness and unconditional love are so powerful. They don't just release you from the old loop, they open the channel to a higher resonance. And the quantum field always responds to resonance, not words, not wishes. It reflects what you are. Science might describe this as neuroplasticity, the brain rewiring itself into new patterns of perception. Spiritual traditions might call it awakening. But at the core, both are pointing to the same truth. Change is not linear, it is quantum. The shift is immediate the moment you embody a new state of being. Of course, the outer structures of life may take time to rearrange. Old patterns of relationship, career, or health might linger briefly. But the inner experience, the frequency you live from, has already shifted. And because energy precedes matter, those outer layers inevitably follow. The invitation then is not to wait for proof before you believe the shift is real. The invitation is to notice the proof already inside you. The lighter breath, the calmer mind, the gentler presence you carry into every space. That is the evidence of a new reality. Instant shifts are not about escaping the human experience. They are about meeting life with a frequency that transforms the experience itself. Every time you return to observation, every time you choose love over resistance, you are aligning with that frequency again. And in that alignment, reality can't help but change. Because once the loop breaks, you are no longer the same vibration, and the world you live in is no longer the same reflection.
Breaking the loop is not about perfection. It's about remembering in each moment that you can choose awareness and return to love. Some days will feel easy, others will test you. But every time you choose presence, you step back into your true frequency. Reality shifts the moment you do. The old loop was never who you are. It was only a pattern. What defines you is the awareness that notices it, the compassion that softens it, and the love that transforms it. As you walk forward, carry this knowing. Your reality responds to who you are being right now, and in that, you are always free. If this message touched you, I'd love for you to like the video, subscribe, and stay connected with this community of souls awakening together. The journey continues, moment by moment, frequency by frequency.